What is going on, everyone? Tim Williams here. We have a beautiful NFL game to break down here Thursday night, little Thursday night showdown action. We have the New York Football Jets taking on the Indianapolis Colts of Indianapolis. Yeah, I said it. Colts 10-point favorites here. They're looking at about a 45 over under point total. So a little bit of a low scoring total here, but we really don't know what to expect. The Jets shocked the world last week by defeating the Bengals. That was a pretty exciting game. Mike White, is he for real? We don't know. We have the smallest sample size, but we'll break it down. We'll talk about it in this quick video here. I think it's going to help you a lot. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe. And yeah, let's break it down. I want to start with the Colts side. I think they're a little bit easier to talk about. We kind of know where their offense funnels through. It's Taylor, it's Wentz, it's Pittman. Those are the big three there with some sprinkles of some randomness going on. But Taylor, I love him at the top. I love him as a captain. I also like Wentz. I also like Pittman as a captain as well. But let's talk about Taylor. He's averaging about 15 rushing attempts per game. Carson Wentz is starting to throw him the ball a little bit, 4-3-2, 4-3 as far as targets go over the last 5 games there. 3 receptions the last 2. He has a massive ceiling, probably the highest ceiling out of anyone on this slate. 21 fantasy points last week, 22, 31 before that, 34 before that. So I think what you're getting out of him is consistency. He's going to run the ball. He is their clear number 1 running back here. I just think he gets too much work. It's going to be tough to fade him. He's been scoring touchdowns every week since week 3 here. So really, really, really love the upside here. Not much to talk about besides that they're just going to run the offense through him. 76% of snaps last week. That is very good to see. 28 routes ran last week. So that's really crucial for his upside. He's been catching the ball. So I really like Jonathan Taylor. I like Carson Wentz here. Obviously, I think he's very much in play. I do think his ceiling is a little bit limited. 20, 21, 17. That seems to be kind of where Carson Wentz lives, and that's totally fine. Wentz himself, we know he's not a runner. He is averaging about 34 pass attempts per game. I don't mind that. The one thing that I really love about Carson Wentz is he is throwing at least on average, 4 deep balls per game. So that is a very good to see. There's a lot of quarterbacks, surprisingly, that just aren't throwing the ball as deep. Wentz being one of them throwing it. So I like him. I like to pair him with Pittman. He's clearly their number 1 wide receiver. 15 targets last week. I don't think he'll obviously get 15 again. If you look at the weeks before that, 4, 3, 7, 8, but he has some massive upside as well, along with Taylor. 30 fantasy points last game, 23 before that. He does have a little bit of a floor there, right? 5, and then he's got some 11s in there, but clearly just so much upside. And there's just no one else as far as wide receiver that really can touch him here. So I really like him a lot. Played 94% of the snaps. The one thing I like about Pittman as well, he has been having some, end zone shares, 7 targets within the 10 here, 0 within the 5. But the fact of the matter is he's getting some looks down close to the end zone. So big upside play there. So pretty obvious we like there. Pascal at 9.9K, or at least that's the captain price. So let's take that off. Pascal at 6.6K. I think he's fadeable. I mean, he's been getting some looks. He's gotten 6 targets within the 10-yard line. So there is some upside there, but he's just not getting a ton of target share just throughout the game. So I think, 8 targets last week, but he's only got 9 fantasy points. He just doesn't have a ton of upside there. He's on the field a ton, don't get me wrong. He played 91% of snaps, so I think he's viable. You certainly can play him. Let's go down the list here. Hines, he's kind of taking a backseat to Taylor, so I don't think I'm going to get to him in too many builds unless you think that the Colts are going to be playing from behind, which is possible, but I just don't think it's likely. Moelle Cox is, I think, in play as well. Cox himself, taking a little bit of a backseat to Doyle last week, but Cox 47% of the snaps played last week. I think he's a touchdown. He has some touchdown upside. He's gotten 4 touchdowns so far on the year. So I think he's in play. at 5.2K, it might be a little bit tough to get there. Jack Doyle as well, 4.6K. I think that's kind of expensive. Maybe you just don't play any of the tight ends. I know the tight ends in general have just been crushing on these Monday night games, Sunday night games, Thursday night games, but they're very expensive. Doyle has been running more routes. He ran more last week, 25 as opposed to 22 from Mo Cox. But I think it's tough to pick which one's going to kind of get there. Let's see how many touchdowns Doyle has. He only has one. So clearly they're looking more at Mo Cox. I definitely kind of slightly lean towards that. I think one kicker is fine from the game. I wouldn't take two. Marlon Mack at 800, maybe some value. He didn't really do anything. He didn't do anything at all last week. San Francisco, he saw the field a little bit. He only had 3 rushing attempts. So very, very, low risk there. I mean, he's only 800. Doolin, he's 200. I expect him to be somewhat popular, so I think you could probably fade him. He's been seeing the field a little bit. He's supposed to be their WR3. 29% of snaps last week. He only ran 12 routes. So, but for 200, I think he's certainly viable. I think he'll be somewhat popular there, but that'll kind of do it for the Colts. We'll jump to the Jets side here. Talk about Mike White a little bit. 9.8K. I think he's in play, right? 31 fantasy points last week. That's probably his all-time ceiling. We don't even know too much about this guy. 10 points kind of jumping in that New England game. But the one thing that I've noticed and digging into some stats here, he's had 0 deep attempts last game. He's been kind of just peppering the ball in that short field area. So I think the Colts probably going to challenge him a little bit, maybe try to get him to throw the ball downfield. He can connect them. He's got plenty of good, talented wide receivers to do it. I think Mike White is very much in play in this one. The stud that I like the most, obviously Michael Carter, who doesn't, blew up last game, 32 fantasy points. He's been catching the ball, 9 receptions, 8 receptions before that, getting a ton of targets. So I like pairing up Carter with Mike White. If I am playing him, he might be his, number 1 wide receiver. That isn't not even a wide receiver. But the one thing that I like to see here is 15 rushing attempts, 11 before that. So he's getting some more work there. He played 76% of snaps. He's on the field most of the game there. 27 routes ran last week, 22 the week before. So they're just really kind of giving him the keys to the car there. So I like Michael Carter a ton. Crowder, next one up, probably my favorite wide receiver of the group. Nothing surprising there. 9 targets last week. I think there's some, trust. There's some relationship between Crowder and Mike White. Crowder himself, 9 targets last week, 33 routes, ran 64% of the snaps. Cole, 72% of the snaps. Mims, 76% of the snaps. They're all kind of out there at the same time. The one wide receiver here, Moore, 6.2K, kind of risky. Seems like more of a down threat type of guy, but he has been getting some targets there, 6 and 6, 13 and 10 fantasy points. He's just kind of pricey, but let's take a look at the price on some of these other guys for wide receivers. Barrios, he caught a touchdown last week, 9 points there. I think he's an option, right? But at let's see, 3.8K, I think we can get better value there. Cole, 2.4K, Mims, 2K. So it's kind of just a toss-up. I think they're all in play. I like Crowder the best for sure. It's going to be a tough time trying to nail one of these guys down. But maybe you can go with like a Mike White in there with a Carter, Crowder. And then the other guy that I really like here in the flex, don't mind me some Tyler Kroft. 10 fantasy points, 2 targets last week, a touchdown. If he's going to be throwing short field passes, it's clearly I think the Colts are going to kind of expose that. So maybe that kind of gets more target share to Kroft. So I don't mind Kroft. 22 routes ran last week, 67% of the snaps. Griffin, the backup there, 11 routes ran, 54% of the snaps. So he's on the field as well. How much is Griffin? 1.4K. So, I mean, that's a decent punt. He's not really doing a whole ton, but yeah, I just prefer Kroft in this scenario here. Let's see what that kind of looks like with one of these big guys on the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, where does that leave you? 2.4. You can get like a Colt. That'd be an interesting 5-1 build. Don't hate on that. You could just take a chance with Mims, right? Just kind of rotate those guys out. Who else? What if I want to put in Pittman? Gives you 4-5. You can get a kicker in there. What if you could Captain Wentz there and just kind of hope Wentz rushes one in there? Don't hate that. You have to get creative. You got to get different in your builds for sure. A couple guys we didn't really touch upon for the Jets. I think another, viable captain would be Carter on that side, with Mike White. Say you want to get Crowder in there, and then no one's going to be playing double running backs here, right? Ty Johnson's been getting some work, getting 5 receptions, 6 receptions there. So I don't even mind putting the 2 running backs together, take out Crowder even, run it back with Taylor. No, you can run it back with Wentz. You can get Pittman in there as well. No, you can't. Why don't you go? You could go with Mo Alley Cox. You could double gun it tight end style. I probably wouldn't do that, but maybe take Carter out of there. Maybe put in, what if you put in Mike White there? And then have a Carter there. Obviously, it gets you a little bit less there. But you can do something like that. You don't have to have Wentz in there. You can put in Taylor, Crowder, and then go with one of your punt plays. I think, you could totally fade Wentz. Wentz is only going to get you probably 20 at the most. But yeah, those are some of the builds I like. I like to try to get maybe 1 or 2 pieces of that Indy big 3 that we talked about. And then just kind of loading up on the Jets there. You don't even have to put Michael Carter in, or not Michael Carter. You don't even have to put Mike White in there if you don't want to. We don't know what he's going to be. I'm very curious what his ownership's going to be like. If he's lower owned, then I'm more inclined to play him. If he's higher owned, then I'm more inclined to just maybe go with some of the running back builds. But it's clearly he likes to throw the ball short. So I'm going to be looking at maybe some sort of like 4-2, 5-1 build there. Like I said, it's pretty easy to nail down what the Colts are going to do. So bear with me. I'm still new with the old showdown breakdown, so I might have been a little bit choppy there, but really appreciate you watching. Best of luck tonight. Don't forget to hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. I like breaking down some of these slates here, so appreciate it. Take it easy. Peace.